Hi, I'm Ingrid Smith. I'm a parent coach working with parents of trans kids of any age to find clarity and confidence that they need to fully support their kids. A few months ago, I think maybe 4 months ago, I was scrolling on Instagram and I came across an account that promised science-based tools for overcoming overthinking and anxiety. And of course, I immediately thought, well, that's of interest to me personally, because I definitely I'm an overthinker and also really helpful for my clients who deal with a lot of issues around anxiety, overthinking, hypervigilance, etc. At that point, I had not come across anyone who really suggested what I consider to be doable strategies, things that I could reach for in the moment, or to teach my clients or myself to slow down a racing heart, to shut off overthinking, to bring panic under control. And Geri did exactly that. Her videos get right to the point, they explain why something works, and most importantly, her strategies can be implemented in the moment, often without anyone else even knowing that you're doing something. For example, before coming on this call, I put my head on my chest with a little bit of warm pressure, a move that I have discovered actually brings me back to myself in a way I never would have thought possible. And I learned that from one of your videos. I'd like to introduce Geri Yankova, and she'll tell you a bit about herself.
Thank you so much, Ingrid, for the kind words, and thank you so much for having me today. I'm Geri. I'm an anxiety coach, and I help women who struggle with fears, overthinking, insomnia, indecisiveness, who feel in general overstimulated or on edge, to find their calm again and to understand actually what their nervous system needs in any given moment. And I'm an anxiety survivor myself. I struggled with all of these for many, many years. And I'm also a mom, so I know firsthand how fast things can spiral when we are stretched thin. So honestly, when I started learning about regulation, I didn't start it as a coach. I started as a mom who used to struggle with anxiety on top of this and with feeling on edge and with guilt.
Mm.
So one of my major reasons at that point was not only to heal myself, but not to transfer that patterns to my kid. At that point, I had only one. Now I have two, but yeah, this was one of my main motivators.
So not to model for them and pass on to them.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because there is something that I think we often miss as parents. We, of course, try to treat our kids the best way possible, give them all the love, all the confidence, all the support. But there is something else, and it is that our kids don't treat themselves the way we treat them. They treat themselves the way we treat ourselves. So
Wow.
if,
That's so
yeah,
good.
it's a strong one. And when I realized that it really changed a lot for me. If we say, take a very simple situation, and as an example, if I break a glass and I say, Look at me, how clumsy I am," my kid would immediately copy the way of thinking that breaking a glass means that you're clumsy. And even if I don't react that way towards them, if I say to them when they break a glass, "It's okay, it happens to everyone, let's just clean the mess," they will continue. When they grow up, they break a glass, they will continue saying, "Oh, look at me, how clumsy I am." They will not react that way to others. To others, they say, "It's okay, let's just clean the mess, it happens to everyone." But to
Ah.
themselves, they will react the way I have reacted towards myself. And this is critical. So we need to treat ourselves the way we want our kids to treat themselves when they grow up.
That makes so much sense. So the way I treat myself is how they'll treat themselves. The way I treat them is how they'll treat other people.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. See, this is a perfect example of how you work is that just shifted. I'm 61. That's just shifted 61 years of my own programming. Like that makes so much sense. It is such a new way for me to think about it. For the people listening and who joined us to watch this video, I want to let you know that Geri's going to be sharing a few strategies with us at the end. And meanwhile, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the concepts and about my audience and how this might be supportive of you. So the parents I work with, Geri, are often in high levels of stress, not because of their lives outside of their relationship with their child, although that could be at play as well, but because I work with parents whose kids have recently come out. Most of my clients, their kids have come out as transgender, or non binary. And particularly with the climate around this topic in many parts of the world,
Mm-hmm.
this immediately, even for the most supportive parent, launches them into the hugest levels of fear. That's the number one emotion that parents report to
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you too that even when I post on Instagram, if I post something about the fear, I get the most engagement and the highest level of views because I think it really speaks to parents of transgender kids. And so they're afraid. They're afraid for their kids in the world. They're afraid of their what's going to happen for them in their futures. They're afraid for their safety. And then there's
Mm-hmm.
this other piece that's almost like a paradox that if our children, our trans kids, perceive us as supportive, their risk of suicide and self-harm goes from being 40% above their peers, which is a very high number,
Wow.
back down to the normal rate. So that's a scary stat that if we're not fully supportive, they're at 40% higher risk. But it's also empowering because if I can show my support, I can bring it down. But I find that that stat often starts by making parents terrified because they want some control, but they don't want to be sitting with this power that they feel allows them to put their child at greater risk if they don't get it right. So now we have fear and the pressure to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
And then throw in that these kids have often been holding on to something for a really long time. And I'm not talking about kids like 8-year-olds. I'm talking about like teenagers, young adults. Sometimes some of my clients have adult children who are
Yep.
40 years old who have
Mm,
recently come out to
mm,
them. The kid has been holding on to something for a long time and they want their parent on board like they've always known. They have had a long journey and the parent is like dropped right in and the kid's like, come on, come on, come on. We're on this trip. And when their parents show any resistance or reluctance or worry or fear, the kid is often becomes explosive. So now the parents dealing with their child being so angry with them for not already being on board.
yeah,
And the combination of this is just like so many people tell me they're crying themselves to sleep, that they're having anxiety attacks in the car. This is one of the reasons they come to me. And I can help them with a lot of it. But I feel every time I'm talking to somebody who's in this kind of a crisis, that what's missing is tools. I can help them with the cause, but you need tools for the symptoms too. Is there a way to get through this kind of stuff so that we can address our children in these situations in a much more effective manner? Are there things we can do?
of course, of course. And I think that in situations like the one you described, everything starts with accepting where we are and getting finally rid of the idea that we need to be calm and at 100% all the time. This expectation that we have towards ourselves to always perform the best way possible and always be calm is something that is super destructive. We are not supposed to be calm and we are not supposed to be always responding right and correctly in each situation. Actually, being always calm is something that would be very harmful if it was possible in the first place. Our nervous system is designed to work like an elastic band, to correspond to the active level of activity or awareness that our situation requires. So my nervous system should be in high alert mode. If I'm doing tasks, I'm planning, I'm tracking something, I'm delivering, I'm overcoming something. And at the same time, it should be able to go back to calm, to low state when I'm trying to rest. And the aim is not to be calm all the time, because this would mean that we will not be able to achieve, to finish our task, to plan our next day. What a regulated nervous system should do is to be able to get back to calm when it's needed. So in situations like this, I will not try to be calm all the time. I will try to decrease the time that's needed to go back to calm after an activation. Something happens, and it's normal for me to be sad, to be angry, even to feel guilt, to feel ashamed. But it's how much time I need after then, and after that, and can I at all get back to calm. So this is the aim, to decrease the time required for us to go back to calm.
So that we're not, for instance, staying up all night worrying about the conversation we had 5 hours ago. so that we're not
Yeah,
in our
exactly.
car bawling our eyes out on the
Hmm.
way to work over whatever's happening in our lives all the rest of the time. But when we're actually engaged in these high emotion situations, that's not the goal to suddenly become level.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a
yeah.
game changer. And that idea that accepting our emotional state is part of it. That's part of the work I do with my clients for sure, right from the start is the concept of suffering twice, that you're
Hmm.
already upset
Hmm.
and then you're judging yourself for being upset and then you feel guilty and then there's more judgment and then shame, and all of these things lead to paralysis.
Exactly. And it also leads to fear of the next situation. So we are starting,
Mm.
when something happens, we are already triggered. We are not starting like at the usual level. We are
Eggshells.
over, yeah,
Do you know that
exactly.
expression,
Eggshells.
walking
Yeah,
on
yeah, yeah, yeah,
eggshells?
yeah.
This
Yeah.
is like a code word for me, eggshells, because
Hmm.
all my clients talk about eggshells, every single one. So if a parent is in the middle of a moment with their
Hmm.
kid, like not the anticipatory piece so much, but actually, I guess that's part of it too, then, is before they go into the moment. So often when parents are addressing their kids, especially when we're talking about teenagers and young adults who are
Hmm.
in our home environments who live with us, we have lead time before we start a conversation because they're hardly ever the ones starting the conversation. I have a 24-year-old who lives at home. He does not very often come and say, let's talk, mom. That's what I'd really like to do. Sometimes, but usually when I'm going to bed. Um, so I have time ahead of my conversation with my kid. And I know I want to talk about something that is going to involve some emotional stimulation, or some feelings are going to come up for both of us, which is reasonable. But I feel that fear starting to come up. What can I do to bring myself, to regulate myself enough that I can go in open and ready to talk to my kid heart to heart without insisting on calm, but also without completely losing the narrative.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, the first thing is really acknowledging where we are, to be able and to give ourselves that moment, that space to say, okay, I feel fear, or I'm anxious, or I'm really, I'm really thinking and I really want to avoid that conversation now. So accepting and naming emotions is something which is really strong because it pulls us out of that spiraling thinking and put us in a more position of observer. Like, okay, I feel fear. That's fine. I will manage. I have managed in many different situations like this before, so I can do that now. And if you add to that a couple of sensory nervous system cues, because our main goal in that moment is to send the message to our nervous system that we are not in danger. And our nervous system doesn't speak English. It doesn't speak languages. It cannot recognize words. It recognizes sensations, like the one you talked about at the beginning with the hand on your heart. Or what I'm using super often in my day is wiggling your toes. There's a number of neuroscience mechanisms going on the background why it works, but it actually works. You cannot spiral while you wiggle your toes. Or you can have like some small object that is connected to safety for you. It might be a pebble, a magnet, a key holder, whatever, something that you connect with safety. If you get it in your hand, it will help. So small little nervous system cues, everything that brings you safety would be suitable in that moment. Because in that moment, the main goal is to show our nervous system we are okay, we are not in immediate danger. And then I can only imagine how conversations like this can escalate and how quickly. And here again, my suggestion would be to give yourself that space before reacting. The key in that moment is the space between the stimuli and the response. That moment to recognize where you are. And after that, before reacting, to somehow show to your kid that they're seen, they're accepted. To be thankful for the fact that they are they feel safe enough to react in front of you. Because even if they're screaming, if they're throwing objects, if they I don't know, if it escalated so quickly, in order for them to react like this, that means they have the level of psychological safety to be open and to present their emotions in front of you. And we should recognize that. We should recognize that our kids in those moments are brave enough to show to us how they feel. And if we manage in that moment to show them that they're safe with us, that we accept them, even in moments like this, it's all they need. They need to feel safe, seen, and accepted, right?
That makes so much sense. So when we walk on eggshells, constantly trying to placate them and stop them from exploding, we're giving the opposite message that I can't handle your
Exactly.
emotional blow up. I don't accept the full range of emotion that
Hmm.
you're showing.
Hmm.
I I can't. I'm too afraid of this experience that you're bringing to our table. I'm too afraid to be able to hold it with you. I need you to cover it up and hide it. But but being able to return to that place of like, what does this actually mean? My kid yelling and screaming it. Does it mean
Hmm.
that we're going to be alienated, which is what parents often are thinking? Does it mean that they're going to reject me and be out on the street? Does it mean they might cause harm to themselves because they're mad at me? These are the stories that come up for
Hmm.
us
Hmm.
instead. So reprogramming our mind to say, actually, no, it means they're experiencing the full range of emotion that they have. That's a
Yeah,
human right. And I'm the person that they feel comfortable showing those feelings to. And in fact, probably in some cases, I don't think it's a test in the sense that a kid is planned to test us, but it's almost like a test moment of, can she stay? Can
yeah.
she keep,
Can she
not
handle
necessarily
me?
stay in the room, but can she handle me? Exactly. In this terrifying place that I am, where the world says I'm wrong. The world
Hmm.
says that
Hmm.
some parts of the
Hmm.
world say I'm bad,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm afraid. And here's my mom able to hold that with me.
Hmm. Yeah.
So in that moment, if that's what I'm providing for my kid, if I show sadness, if I show anger, if I show frustration, is that okay? Or is that backfiring? Is that too
It's
much for my
okay.
kid?
No, it's absolutely okay unless we somehow point it towards the kid. Like acknowledging and informing them even that we are feeling the way we feel is maybe one of the most positive things that we can do in a moment like that, because first we are teaching them that those feelings are normal. Somehow in our society we have accepted that there are good emotions and bad emotions, emotions that we can tolerate and we can express, and others that we cannot.
Right.
And what we do is actually bottling up everything that we consider inappropriate or unacceptable. Kids are learning expressing emotions and feeling emotions in general from their caregivers. So if we don't show them that it's okay to be sad, to be angry, to feel like you don't know what to do in that moment, you don't know what the proper reaction is, they will never feel or they will never recognize these feelings as normal. They will always try to hide them, not express them, not feel them, and everything we don't allow ourselves to feel, it's piling up in the inside, and it's the major creator of the problems that we have afterwards. So for
So
me, it's the
this,
most positive thing. Yeah.
it kind of comes full circle. It's how I treat
Mm-hmm.
myself,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like if I can say in that moment, I'm I feel all the frustration and rage you're feeling with the world outside. I'm also really struggling with this, is showing them that I allow myself to have emotions, therefore they can allow themselves to have emotions, including, and when
Yes.
you say not make it about them, that would be things like not pointed at them. That would
Mm-hmm.
be things like, you're making me so mad, or
Yeah,
you're making me so
exactly.
scared.
Yeah.
That's not okay. But
That's
saying things like,
absolutely not okay.
I feel frustrated right now because we're not communicating, we're not hearing each other. That's okay, right?
That's okay. And it's also a form of validation, actually, because people in general, but especially kids, are super sensitive to the emotions of the others. For the kids, it's a way of surviving because they
Right.
cannot take care of themselves. They need to read the room to understand if they will still receive the support and care and food and everything that they need to survive. So they're extremely sensitive. But people in general, human beings, human race has existed long before language. So we are able to read body language and signals of everyone around us. We don't need language for that.
Right.
Because if I have been chased by a tiger and I'm entering the cave that we live. You don't need to wait to me to say to you with words that there's a tiger outside. You need to immediately understand that there's something wrong.
Right.
So the kids are seeing when we are frustrated. And if I'm saying, no, no, I'm absolutely calm, that there's everything's fine, what is the message I'm providing? That they're wrong, their perception is not valid, which
Right.
is adding on top of everything they already they feel like you said it, they feel like they're bad, that they're somehow not appropriate themselves, they're not appropriate. This is the message that they receive from some parts of the world. And this is only adding, no, no, you haven't read my signals correctly. I'm absolutely fine.
If you say I'm I'm feeling like this, I'm feeling very overwhelmed right now, or I'm feeling really worried right now, but I'll be okay. That
That's,
delivers a message to them that
yeah.
acknowledges what I'm
Mm-hmm.
feeling and what they're sensing, but that also shows them that I'm an adult and that they don't need to carry this for me. That
Exactly.
is that,
That's
yeah,
super important. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because we never should allow ourselves to transfer the responsibility for our emotions to our kids. Like, you make me angry. No
right.
one can make me angry. It's my emotion. I can handle it. I should handle it. And it's entirely my responsibility. And this is another very important lesson that I've learned much more later than I should, that it's not my job to manage other people's emotions. I
Yeah,
was like the person who was trying to make everyone happy, everyone smiling, to track all the time how everyone is feeling so I can intervene. Why? This is like putting the rest of the people in a position like they cannot handle that, and that they don't have the right to be in a so-called negative emotions, and that
right.
they need me to intervene and to save them from whatever is happening, which is not exactly how it is and not how it should be. So it's another very important thing to not to teach our kids that they need to manage ours or anyone else's emotions. Everyone is responsible for their emotions.
That makes so much sense. Wow, Gary, you're amazing. Um,
Thank you.
so do you have a couple of strategies you'd be willing to share with
Of
parents who are
course.
listening, things that they might be able to apply other than my favorite? I have other favorites, and the wiggling toes is a really good one too. But are there a
I
couple you'd
love
like to
it.
share
Yeah.
today?
Yeah. And I want to share something, a couple of strategies that are actually working long term,
Mm,
because there's a specific, I mean, all of this is working at the moment, but in the long run, we need um we need our nervous systems to be able to have the capacity before we need it. So if we are running on
yes,
empty
okay,
all day and then a crisis happens, then it will be a nightmare. We don't have at this moment the resources to react in the way that we discussed up to now. We
right.
simply don't have it. So there are a couple of ways we can try to sustain that resources available for us during the day. And when we are talking about parents, we usually target like really micro moments. Because as parents, we rarely do have hours for long routines, journaling, breathing sessions, meditations, and I don't know what else.
Oh,
We
so
have
true.
seconds here and there that that
And when we suggest those things to parents, what happens? We add another expectation that
exactly.
I can't meet, where I ought to have spent an hour journaling at 5 o'clock in the morning before my kids wake up so that I can have emptied myself of all these things before. And it's like, I can't win when you're a parent.
No,
It feels like I cannot, and it's not win like get a prize. It's like I can't even meet the baseline requirement that I'm being told is necessary for me to be healthy and have a healthy relationship with my children. So yeah, those hour of journaling, an hour of meditation
it really sounds great. I have never achieved that, I
does
should
sound
admit.
great, but
So,
and the people I know that do it, it's more like 10 minutes and they choose one.
mm,
They're not doing
mm,
everything and they're only doing it when they can. So,
yeah, yeah, exactly. So really, we are targeting micro moments. I will share a strategy for the morning, for the whole day, and for the evening.
oh,
And
perfect.
I will explain why I think they work great in combination, and actually they don't require much time. Let's start with the morning. So I would suggest having 10 minutes buffer in the morning before touching your phone or interacting with anyone else. 10 minutes, you can do whatever you want and what works for you. You may do some stretching. You may just sit with your coffee or tea in silence. You can just stare out of the window. It doesn't matter. But your nervous system needs that space before we start putting messages and signals from the outside. There's no war waiting in your messages. There's no one's dying, nothing's burning. It can wait 10 minutes because your nervous system is so raw at the morning. And if you start your day pouring in it, like all the ugly messages from the news, from social media, from whatever, you're already starting empty and even below empty. So I would suggest 10 minutes. If you don't have 10 minutes, do five, do three, do whatever you can. Maybe today you have only two, tomorrow you will have five. Everything works. Just allow that space. And I would suggest, if you can, to do the following, to have a couple of minutes of morning light. So it unfortunately doesn't work through the window. There are a lot of studies. If you want, you can search for additional information. It's super interesting. But even a couple of minutes morning light can decrease so much the stress hormones at the afternoon. And this is when we need it the most, actually, because as
Hmm.
parents, we typically manage the mornings, even noontime. But what about 5 p.m.?
Oh, the witching hour. And
Yeah.
if you're dealing with trans teenagers or trans young adults, they're not up first thing in the morning. And if they are, they definitely aren't talking to you. It's always later in the day.
Yes, exactly. So it is so beneficial to have our cortisol low at that moment. So what I typically do, it's now winter in my hemisphere. If I don't plan to go out in the first hour after I wake up, I just put my coat on top of my pajama. I'm on the balcony, 2 minutes just staring outside. It's sufficient. It's enough. And it is, I mean, you will feel it. If not the first day, the second. You will feel it and you wouldn't like to miss it the next day.
Hmm.
You don't need anything special. It can be on the porch. Or, you can even open the window and show your head outside and just look. It's really, you don't need to dress up and go outside and just like stay like
Right,
there on the
right.
sunlight. It's super simple. And if you have a choice, this is what I would suggest for as a morning routine. These 2 minutes or 3 minutes sunlight.
If your first part of your day, if you live in a part of the world that's dark, like where I am right
Mm-hmm,
now at wake up time for most people, especially working parents, if they're up at like 6 or 7, it's pitch dark till 8 o'clock at probably around or
mm-hmm.
7:45. Does a light work, like a sad light? You know those seasonal affective disorder lights, mood lights? Do you know what I'm talking about? Do those
And
work, or does it need to be
it is
actual?
it is actual light, but what you can do is again take these 2 or 3 minutes outside, looking outside, even if it's dark, because at the mornings, even when it's dark, the light is different compared to the night.
Very different.
So yeah, and our bodies are able to catch that. If you prefer, you can also have when it's getting lighter, you can also have 2 3 minutes more to add.
Like
But
later.
it's later when it's
So if
brighter.
you're up at
But
6, you could do it at 8 o'clock when the light's on, but you can even do it at dusk, or not dusk, dawn, when the sun's
yeah,
just
yeah,
starting to come
exactly.
up.
Hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely, you can. Absolutely, you can. So this is what I would suggest for the mornings. And then through the day, because we cannot go from, I don't know, 6 a.m., 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. without checking in with our nervous system. We need pit stops. I would suggest having a couple of like alarms set for the day to have 1 or 2 minutes check with ourselves. How do I feel? Where in my body I do hold tension right now? Just trying to release that tension, like a self massage for 10 seconds or something that will help me. It's called finishing the stress cycle, completing the stress cycle. Because how our bodies work is that for our bodies, when we are under stress, it's always like physical attack. You either cannot find food, this is stress, or you are considered food at that moment. This is this is the second type of stress. For our bodies, there's no other type of stress. They will not recognize the email from our manager or the conversation with our kid as danger. They translated it like that. And what has happened before in our human history and what happens with animals is that they find a way to close that stress cycle, to complete it. So they get rid of the hormones that are circulating in the bloodstream after the stress. We humans, we don't do that now. And we just pile and pile and pile.
Right.
That's why at the afternoons we are already a ticking bomb. So what we aim with these couple of minutes during the day is to complete some small stress cycles so we don't overwhelm ourselves with that. It might be 2, 3, 4 times a day. It depends on how much time everyone can spend. Just 1 or 2 minutes, a couple of circles with the shoulders, unclenching the jaw, um, wiggling the toes, hands on heart, whatever signals safety. And also, movement works very well for completion of the stress cycle. If we can, like, I don't know, do some squats, like 5 squats between the meetings or whatever, it's perfect. So this is what I would recommend. But the main thing for me would be checking in with our nervous system. What do I need right now? Where do I hold attention? What can I do for 1 minute for myself? Do I need water? Do I need maybe 2 more minutes of sunlight? Do I need to do 5 squats? So
Okay.
this is it.
So
Yeah.
buffer in the morning, check in or pit stops. I like that expression.
Mm-hmm,
So pit stops during the day where you're checking in to see what do I need, and often it's some movement, even if it's as small as a hand on chest
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
or
mm-hmm.
rolling your shoulders, but it could be as much as going outside for a couple of minutes or doing some squats or shaking your body
Shaking
or
is great
rolling your
also. Mm-hmm.
toes. Okay.
Okay. And for the evenings, there should be a time, a moment that we are officially off. Like not off for our kids' needs, but off from cleaning the kitchen perfectly, planning the next day, responding to non-urgent messages, or mental task management. Because if we don't do that, we actually don't send to our bodies that we are done now signal. And we stay activated through the evenings and then through the night time. We cannot sleep because our nervous system never got the message that the day is off, the day is over. So we should have a time moment. It might be 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 10 p.m., whatever, depending on the circumstances. But there should be a moment in time that we are officially off. That's it. The day is over. I'm done. It's my time for regulation. It might be 30 minutes before bed, but it's my time. Doing my evening rituals before allowing my body to have the time to switch off. This is what
I
I
can,
recommend. Mm-hmm,
Gary, I can so picture that parents will respond with, I don't have 30 minutes before bed. But my response would be, but we lie in our bed sometimes for an hour, not falling asleep. So I can use that hour to lie in my bed, not only replaying the day, but mad at myself that I'm not asleep. Or I could use that time to unwind so that I actually fall asleep when I
mm-hmm.
get into bed.
I also recognize that pattern, and I was guilty in that one for so long because actually, even after I healed my anxiety, I needed maybe 5, if not more years after that to find a way to sleep properly and to actually be able to rest in my free time properly because I had the evenings and I had the weekends, but all I did during this time was mentally prepping for the next day, doing mental list or checks or um, dissecting a meeting I have had during the day. And it was so exhausting. So exhausting. I'm actually finishing a course that I'm working on exactly on that topic. But again, the idea is that you need to signal your nervous system that you have first finished your working day and then it's time to switch off. It's time to sleep. And if someone say that they don't have 30 minutes, I can understand that. Even though I would recommend if people are really keen to try it and don't finding the time, drop me a DM. I will be so glad to help. We are all in the same boat. So let's try together. I'm sure that there are 30 minutes. But even if you cannot do 30, do 10. But signal some way your nervous system that you have finished your tasks for the day. Because if you don't do it, your nervous system stays activated. And there's no way for you to sleep. And you're absolutely right. I don't have 30 minutes in the evening, but then I will spend 3 hours trying to get to fall asleep.
Yeah, I'd much rather use some of that time to turn to give my body those signals. And for parents, especially because when I was working as an educator, as a teacher, my signal that my job was done was when I left school or when
Mm-hmm,
I closed
mm-hmm.
my computer because I would be doing marking, lesson
Yeah.
planning, et cetera, on my computer. And that would be the signal to myself that I was done. But when you have kids, and especially when your kids are living at home, but they're teens or young adults and they're up sometimes till 1 o'clock in the
Mm-hmm,
morning,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
what's the signal? There's no signal because your job is still awake in the room down the hall and the house lights are on and there's sounds in the kitchen. So there's so many external cues that tell me I'm not finished. My job couldn't possibly be done. So if I don't build in signals that I control that tell me he's good. He doesn't, my 24-year-old does not need me to supervise him while he's reading in bed or scrolling in bed. So needing signals that I can use the same way I use leaving work or closing my computer makes so much sense to me. So
Yeah.
can you suggest one or two that I can use at bedtime to signal to my body? Is it just having the half hour to like read, do my makeup off, that kind of stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Or is there some other step I can add
Mm-hmm.
in that
So
helps?
the most important thing for me is that there are two moments, actually not one, but two moments that you need to signal to your nervous system that you are done. The first one is the end of your workday. It might be working like in an office corporate sense. You might be working for home. You might be taking care of the house, or you might be parenting. But there should be an end to your workday, and you should signal that to your nervous system clearly. So I'm working mostly from home and I'm mostly working from my bedroom, but I still find a way to signal my nervous system my workday is over. That's it for today. I know it's harder for sure with parenting, especially with small kids, because you are up until they're up. But still, there is a way that they're in bed. With teenagers, with young adults, I think it's more our way of thinking rather than their real need. My
Definitely.
13-year-old, he doesn't need me at 10. So if at 9 I signal my nervous system that this is it, it's okay. It might be a shower. By the way, water and temperature work very well. For signaling the end of the workday, um, spending a couple of minutes outside helps a lot too. Or changing clothes, wearing something comfy. Even if I'm working from home, I will again change clothes to signal my nervous system that there is a transfer from one state to another. So I need to first identify the time and then do a couple of signals to my nervous system. And this is the end of, let's say, end of our shift, end of our duty for the day. And it's a separate moment from the moment that we'll signal our nervous system that we are going to sleep. It's like two separate downgradings. You need
Mm-hmm.
to first go from active to calm state and then go one level below to be able to sleep. And this is where it comes like the hygiene routine. Removing your makeup, taking a shower, brushing your teeth, whatever you're doing at the evenings. But also um, you cannot, in that sense, smells work great, aromas. So you can use a specific, it might be a perfume or a body lotion that you are not using during the day. Save it for the night so you signal your nervous system it is time for sleep. And by the way, our nervous system works with kind of ritual. It likes repetition and it learns very quickly. So if you do a consequence with, oh, sorry, if you do a couple of actions one after another, like two, three things, your nervous system will very quickly learn that this signals time for bed.
Right.
You can light a candle, you can do yourself a cup of tea. And the most important thing here is don't consume inputs in that moment. So when it's time for bed, no social media, no shows that are somehow engaging your emotions or your thoughts, no science literature, because I have that nasty habit of reading science before going to bed. Nothing that creates input for your mind or for your emotions. This should be my recommendation.
So good. So good. I'm when one thing that's coming to my mind with an older child is also being able to then like what a signal to me is I say goodnight to my son.
Yeah,
Go give him a
yeah,
hug
yeah.
and say goodnight. there are
That's great.
very rare occasions that he's doing something like he's on the phone with someone and he doesn't want to stop, but he will. And that helps me enormously because it's like my good night to him in my mind is I'm off,
Yeah,
I'm finished.
yeah, exactly.
And that now I'm thinking about that way. I feel like it will become more of a signal because I'm going to now, after our
Hmm.
conversation, be more aware that that's what that good night means to me. That makes sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I like that. That's good. Thank you so much. So I think we've delivered a lot, and you've got made me do a lot of thinking, and hopefully anyone who's listening will have that same experience. And I will be linking information below the video on YouTube so that people can find Geri on Instagram. On You have a website as well, or
No, I
not?
have Instagram, I have TikTok, and I also have Facebook page.
And Geri, you've mentioned today. You mentioned a course. Is that a course you're taking or a course you're making that you're
It's a course
creating?
I'm making. I'm creating course with exactly these two transfers, shifts from working mode, doing mode to resting mode, and then from resting mode to sleeping mode. So it should be out pretty soon. It's almost ready. I'm just polishing it. And these are really things that I personally struggled with, and I found a way to overcome. And I really hope that it will be helpful for many people to start actually enjoying their free time and being able to fully rest during the night.
Okay, this will help me like a lot. I'm not good at turning my brain off to rest. My husband is just like, "Bleh," because I fill rest time with other activities. Um, okay, so I will keep people posted about that. And I just want to let the audience know that they can look forward to more connection with Geri. You can follow her yourself, but I will also keep sharing tips from her, sharing the resources that she's putting out there. I hope that this is sort of the beginning of a bit of a partnership that I can refer clients to you who need more support in this area. So thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for all the help and all the strategies and for everything you brought to my life and to parents everywhere around the world.
Thank you so much for having me. I really hope it will be useful. And yeah, my DMs are always open if someone needs help, support, or advice. Always willing to support.